Basic terms, penetration and testing. Penetration testing is the simulation of hackers' attacks, and the pentester is specialist who performs penetration testing. There could be the two teams, it's red team and the blue team. Red teams are offensive security professionals who are experts in attacking systems and breaking into defenses. Blue teams are defensive security professionals responsible for maintaining internal network defenses against all cyber attacks and threats. Especially penetration testing is answering a simple question: what would a cyber criminal do to harm my organization's computer systems, applications, and the network? It is the practice of testing a computer system, network, or web application to find vulnerabilities that an attacker could exploit, simulating an attack against an organization's IT assets. Vulnerabilities could be due to multiple reasons, few basic ones being flaws in the design of hardware and software, usage of unsecured network, poorly configured computer systems, networks and applications, complex architecture of computer systems, plausible human errors. So an efficient penetration testing helps in finding the gaps in the security tools that an organization is using, finds multiple attack vectors and the misconfigurations. So an organization can prioritize the risk, fix it, and improve the overall security response time. Moving forward with this, what is the penetration testing? We will learn how a typical penetration test is carried out. Penetration tester usually begins by gathering as much information about the target as possible. Then the pentester identifies the possible vulnerabilities in the system by scanning, after which he launches an attack. Post-attack, he analyzes each vulnerability and the risk involved. Finally, a detailed report is submitted to higher authorities summarizing the results of the penetration test. Penetration testing can be broken down into multiple stages. This will vary depending on the organization and the type of penetration test. Let's discuss each stage. There are the 6 stages. It's the pre-engagement interactions, recognize or open source intelligence gathering, vulnerability assessment, exploitation, post-exploitation, and reporting. Pentest is a method of evaluating the security of a computer system, network, or application by simulating an attack from a malicious source. A comprehensive pentest involves these 6 steps. First step is pre-engagement interactions. The first step is to define the scope and the objectives of the pentest. The pentester and the client work together to determine the target system, applications, and the networks and network that will be tested. The pentester will also gather information about the client's security policies and the procedures to ensure that the pentest is conducted in a safe and a secure manner. A non-disclosure agreement should be signed by both parties at this time. The second one is open source intelligence gathering. This stage involves gathering information about the target systems and applications. This can be done using a variety of techniques, including network scanning, port scanning, and the recognize, but the aim is to gain as much available information as possible about the target. Information collected can include IP addresses, open ports, operating systems, insecure credentials, and applications. The goal is to collect sufficient leads which can be analyzed to identify potential vulnerabilities that can be exploited in later stages of the pentest. This information will also be shared at the end of the pentest during the reporting phase. Vulnerability assessment is the third stage of the pentesting. In this stage, the pentester will identify targets and map the attack vectors with a combination of automated tools and manual analysis. The pentester will then create threat models by prioritizing vulnerabilities based on their severity and the potential impact on the organization. Identification and the categorization of internal threats may include employees, managers, or vendors. External threats usually pertain more to technologies such as web applications, operating systems, and the services running on open ports. Common areas of attack include high-value business assets such as technical, employee, or customer data. The fourth stage is exploitation. Having developed a map of the attack surface, the pentester attempts to exploit identified vulnerabilities and gain access to the target networks, applications, and the data. This can involve using known exploits or developing custom exploits to target specific vulnerabilities. It's important that the pentester remain within the initial established scope during this phase. If it's within scope, the tester may pivot to other systems or applications. Depending on pre-engagement agreements, the tester may stop the test once they have gained entry or may attempt to escalate privileges on the application or system. All exploits must be thoroughly documented for both reporting purposes and to provide enough information that the security gap can be fixed. Fifth stage is post-exploitation. Once testing is complete, the pentester should clean up the environment. They should reconfigure any access they obtain and remove any scripts or files added or created, as well as removing any accounts created for testing. This is imperative so that it does not leave the target vulnerable to malicious attackers before the flaw can be simulated. The sixth stage is reporting. The final stage of the pentest involves documenting the findings and providing the recommendations for improving the security of the target system and the applications. Communication can be both via live presentation and the written reports. Ideally, there should be an executive summary in simpler language and a more detailed technical report for the target's IT team. The report should include entry points discovered through OSINT and the threat modeling so that the client can consider improving their security posture in those areas. This includes a detailed report of the vulnerabilities found, the methods used to exploit them, and the recommendations for mitigating the vulnerabilities. So it's important to note that the stages of pentest are not always linear and they can be iterative. The pentester may need to repeat certain stages multiple times as new information is gathered or as new vulnerabilities are identified. Additionally, the specific details of each stage may vary depending on the scope and the objectives of the pentest, as well as the client's specific needs and the concerns. A well-executed pentest will identify vulnerabilities and weaknesses in the target system and applications and provide recommendations for improving the security posture of the organization. It's a critical component of a comprehensive security program and it can help organizations identify and remediate vulnerabilities before they can be exploited by attackers. What are the different types of penetration testing? Penetration testing can be categorized based on different parameters like the knowledge of the target or the position of the penetration tester or the areas where it's performed. Penetration testing types based on knowledge of the target based on the knowledge of the target. The first one is black box. When the attacker has no knowledge of the target, it is referred to as a black